Well, as the end of the January transfer window looms, we are still just about clinging on to our job. We've had a very winnable run of games, and in truth, we've probably not won enough of them. And as we head towards a more difficult run now, it is imperative we win against QPR, and that's some magic on deadline day. Yes, hello, and welcome along to part 14 of Built in Bristol with me, Daniel. How much longer are we going to be here? It seems to be the same theme every episode. We are only 3 points off the top half now, and we've snuck through after a replay in the FA Cup. So for now we're safe, but for how long will that last? Well, probably not long based on recent episodes. Today we're going to play QPR as we finish a run of more winnable games. We then go away to the teams in third and first, and play the leaders in the FA Cup as well. And of course, we've got some transfer news to reflect on. 2 additions, one of which you knew about, 1 departure as well. We've missed out on a whole host of very good players, and we're still on the lookout for a right back. So if you're looking forward to all of that and seeing how the window finishes, and whether our job is secure at the end of the day, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. It's been the same old story on the pitch, not scoring enough goals, not taking advantage of dominance, and giving away very stupid late ones to drop points. But in the transfer window, we've tried to be active, and while it's not been what we wanted, we have managed to get people in. So let's go and have a look at that first. We start with the active transfer news, which is now all inactive as well. Anthony Knockhart wants to go out on loan. We've agreed it, but no one will offer his wages. Mehmeti wants to go for football, but again, no one will offer enough of a wage. If we go to the transfer history though, 2 players coming in, one of which was pre-agreed, and he has been basically replacing a player who's moving out. So Harry Darling is the first player who came in. He was pre-agreed from Swansea, who got relegated last year. We tried to get Ryan Manning as well, but he wanted massive money, and really we need a right back rather than a left one. But Darling's done okay. He's now picked up a knock and will miss this game, but a decent addition for 1.2 million. Abdullah Sima is the gamble on loan from Brighton. We desperately needed an extra player out wide. Benarous and Chiquinho are the most injury-prone players we've met. Knockhart isn't good enough. Conway's in and out of unhappiness. Cornick might want to have another strop about a new deal and move on. So Sima adds a bit of quality. He's also probably the best backup striker, despite not being natural. So really happy to get him into the club, and hopefully he'll have a good finish to the year. Not the best first appearance off the bench though. Going out the other way though is Taylor Moore, who leaves for LA Galaxy. He wasn't happy about his lack of football, wasn't really good enough, and Harry Darling replaced him in the squad. So Taylor Moore moves on. He's gone over to the US, and we get 60 grand rather than losing him for free in the summer. I'm still keeping an eye on people that are out on loan, so I'm looking at the likes of Sibley to maybe bring back, but in truth, we've not really got that right back we need. So if we can find somebody who can play there, we can find a brilliant striker, then great. But for now, I think we probably have to stick with what we've got. If we have a look at the schedule of what's been happening though, you were with me for defeats against Forest and West Brom. We've since had a run of very winnable games, and while the results generally look alright, it has still been a bit frustrating. We played Blackpool, who are in a relegation zone, and beat them 2-0. In truth, it was a pretty even game until they got their red card. Sam Surridge opened the scoring from a penalty spot, and we relied on a late Tommy Conway second to get us the victory. Coventry was infuriating. 2-0 up with 65 minutes gone. They'd had no shots on target. We'd had about 30 and not taken them. And then we still got pegged back to 2-2. They had 2 shots on target all game and scored them. It's happening too much now. There is nothing in the data, and I have gone through the data hub more than I ever have before. I've used every single tip from my guide to use in the data hub last year, and I just can't find the answer. I have never had a year like it in FM ever. It is so unexplainable. We nicked a 1-0 at home to Hull in a game we dominated, but again, just didn't take chances. Alex Scott. But it's not even the fact we're creating chances. We're creating good ones. Our expected goals in these games are 2.5, 3. We're missing gilt-edged chances on highlights and in commentary. It's infuriating. We nicked a 1-1 draw at Charlton in the FA Cup. Again, battered them for 80 minutes, didn't take our chances. And of course, they then went ahead. We had to save it in a 92nd. Beaten comfortably at Bournemouth, one of the best sides in the league. And then home to Charlton. Again, we battered them the whole game. but it took till the 87th minute and a penalty for Sam Surridge to get the winner. So it's suggestive that we're getting in the area quite a lot. We're having 3-4 penalties a month. We're obviously getting into those positions. We're being aggressive. We're getting in the box a lot. We're just not taking chances. It is so infuriating. But let's go and get through to the fixtures. We've got a big game today. It has been a big transfer window in the Championship. I mean, to give you an indicator of what we're up against, there are teams who are signing and selling players for 10, 15, 20 million. I mean, Palace are having a bit of a fire sale, but they should be going up, so it won't matter soon. Let's go and get through the fixtures, though, and see what team we can put out today. 20th place QPR at home. Should be a winnable game. It's the sort of game we've got to win if we want to get near the top half, but that's been easier said than done for a lot of this season. Let's go and get our first 11 back in after that cup game in midweek. A pretty poor crowd expected. The fans are turning. The players have never really got on side with us. And don't forget here, in our first season, we made the playoffs and we were battling for the top 2. And despite that, we have never had any managerial support. Let's get through the team selection. Lots of changes to make. We'll be back in a minute to run through our 11. Well, here we are, and it is virtually as strong as we can go. We've got Nathan Baxter between the sticks, who is really improving well, has been a good success at the hiking and played okay. And to be fair, we've let in 29 goals in 28 games. I'd hedge my bets and say that's a pretty good record. Let's have a look at the stages. We have, where are we here? We have conceded the least goals of everyone in the top half, and we've scored almost the most. It is frightening, really. Our defensive record is good. It's comparable with sides in and around the playoff mix. We just can't put the ball in the net, bar Sam Surridge. We've got no midfield goal threat. We've got a lot of players in there who have been unhappy or cautious. And even though we've pushed some of those midfield roles on, so Masengo is a box-to-box, whereas last year was a ball winner on defend. We're just not getting into that box enough. But either way, Nathan Baxter in goal. Pring and Vandenberg, the fullbacks, with Bajcetic and Naismith as centre-half. Bulat, Masengo and Scott, that midfield 3. We have agreed to sell Scott if we get over 20 million quid. Of course, I'll work a sell on in there as well. But at the moment, as an attacking midfielder and a playmaker, he's playing those killer balls, but they're not coming off. And he's not producing those performances regularly enough for me to get excited. Cornick and Chiquinho are either side of him. Sam Surridge through the middle. And bar that penalty in the last game in midweek, he's offered nothing in recent weeks. Now, if he has a bad run as well, and we've got to bear this in mind too, actually. He's scored more than his expected goals. His XG is 15.5 and he's scored 16. Now, that's not a bad effort. And of course, he's a reliable penalty taker. However, despite being the joint second highest scorer in the Championship, despite outperforming his expected goals, his average rating's less than 7. And that's for a player who's running the channels and working hard. So there are a lot of things that just don't make sense at the minute. He's involved in the build-up. He's involved in the game. But he's not getting that support from around him. And considering the quality we've got in midfield, it really is quite baffling. Let's go and get through to the first half of this one at Bristol City v QPR. If we lose this, we're going to have to panic on deadline day. I've normally got a measured approach to transfers, but you might see something different if we're in trouble here. Let's go and get through the dressing room as Solomon Rondon has got to be closed down. He's the type of target man that will probably score a header against Naismith and Bajcetic. They're not the best in the air. They're not the most physically imposing, but who knows? It's basically random at this point. 15,000 in is not a good effort at all. And early doors, as you would expect, more of the ball, the first chances of the game, but where's the quality coming? Nowhere by the looks of it. And with nearly 20 minutes on the clock, the first foray is from QPR as Cornick clears away the headed clearance. And again, this is one of those games, isn't it? No shots on target for our visitors. Are we going to see the one-shot, one-goal approach? No. Chiquinho tries to nick the ball high up. Hessler Hayden does well with it. Into Dickey and Villagra. But QPR break free. And this is the problem when our press is beaten. The fullbacks again. How many times does it happen? As Rondon thankfully hits it straight at Baxter. The fullbacks get stuck between. When we've got goal kicks, they go incredibly narrow. Far more than our tactics suggests. And when we've got the ball, it's something in the match engine which may or may not reflect how it actually happens in game. When you play with wing-backs on defensive duties, they just sort of stand between the fullback and the winger. So they're not pressing the fullback, which is what our tactic would suggest. And they're not following the run of the winger. So the fullback can just knock it down the line and the winger gets in each time. So tactically it's a bit annoying, but We want to stick true to it. It's not been a great performance this, and we've not created the chances we normally do. So maybe that midweek cup game, albeit only a few of these played, is having a bit of an impact. As here come QPR again. Ayari with a shot from distance. Would have been just our luck for that to go in. Going to encourage the lads. It's not been a great half. Of course it is. Bravo FM. Chiquinho is injured again. I wonder why that's happening every single week, seriously. I'm going to bring on Seema. Cornick will switch sides. Of course it is. Chiquinho just about got to full fitness there. Did a whole month, almost fully fit. Then, of course, has to pick up another one. If we do survive to the job this summer, and I know I said it in the last episode, we are now training it. It's not familiar enough for me to use it. We're going to go all out with the 3-5-2 because I don't want to play with wingers next year. It's been a real difficult spot for us to recruit and certainly to get reliability. As we nick the ball here with Alex Scott, wide of Cornick, who has been a performer but could play up front if need be. Down the left he goes, cuts back to Bulat. Bulat in and hits the woodwork. Another glorious chance goes begging. It's the final kick of the half. The woodwork is hit from a great opportunity. And at half time, to be honest, I can't even make the argument about performance this time because it really hasn't been good enough. We've got the lads fired up. It's not been a great display. Now, what are we going to get out of them? Some dominance, some quality. Surridge has no service. Scott, I don't even know what he's doing in there. As Naismith's got a corner. Can a set piece save us? He's cleared away as far as Alex Scott on the right. Cuts it back for Seema. And the January sign-in on loan has added a little bit of magic in attack. He's on because of the Chiquinho injury. He's not match fit either. So we've got to look after him as he gets there. But he scored a big goal in this one. Alex Scott recycles the corner. Seema puts it in. The voice is on the brink. But crucially, we've got the lead as Bulat puts a free kick in. Of course, it's the woodwork again. And there's a lot of yellow cards in our defence, which is a grave concern. It's a poor goal kick, which Seema wins. Cornick brings it down, has support. Bulat chips it over. Surridge down for Masengo. Must score. Masengo in and does score. His first goal since returning from loan as well. 63 minutes gone. That has got to be job done. Is that his first goal ever for the club? He played a good 100 games before he went. Yeah, it is. It's his first career goal. Maybe that will spur him into life. We'll see. With that one done, though, we are going to make a few changes. It will be Sepp Vandenberg replaced by Tanner. McCrory on for Naismith, who just cannot get going back there. And then Harry Cornick will be replaced by Tommy Conway. 4 changes made. We've got midfielders if we need them. But for now, it's a very comfortable lead. And it didn't look that way for half a game. Let's be fair here. This is one of our worst performances of the season at home. In terms of expected goals, in terms of chances created. But we're finally having a game where we're scoring with almost every shot on target. I'm going to take Bulat off for the last few minutes, just give him a little rest in there. Matty James will get a rare outing. He is still an experienced pro. He's still a great ally to me in the dressing room. And he's a good professional. So for the rest of this season, we'll get him odd appearances. I don't believe my eyes. We are going to score 3 goals in a game. Miracles do happen. Oh Lord, what have I done? I've come back into the game and we've scored 3 goals in a single match. This is not a drill. 3 goals, it might get better. Scott across goal. Oh, that's a poor decision. The third was a header from Bajcetic. We've had 4 shots on target, now 5. And we've scored 3 goals out of it. Have we scored 3 this season? I'm not sure we have. I'm going to have to go and have a look at this. One of our worst performances, ironically. We created next to nothing. We are now 1 position off the top half. And that probably means for now, my job is safe. Let's go and have a quick look at this, as Chiquinho is out for another month, of course. So Seema, basically just a replacement. Right, we scored 3 at Birmingham in November, who were bottom at the time, weren't they? That was on camera too. That must be the only other time. I can't think of more. No, only friendlies before that. So we've seen 2 3-goal efforts this season, both of them on camera. And hopefully there'll be plenty more to come. Abdelassima opened the score in the January signing. We've got injuries again with Chiquinho. Benarous can't stay fit. I'm probably going to need to go in for another attacking player now. It'll probably be loan deals for the rest of this window, because I've not found any permanents that really stand out. So let's go and get ahead to deadline day and see who else we can bring in. Well, we're back. It's deadline day. We've got the usual preamble from the media. And boy oh boy, is there a lot to unpack. Of course, all of the links about Alex Scott could mean a big name departure at the end of the day. Of course, all the rumours about Alex Scott and links to Milan and other big clubs could mean a big gem leaves before the end of the day. At the moment, on the flip side, on the wage side of things, we've not even got money to negotiate a contract with someone like Ryan Fredericks, who we'd agreed a deal with the club for. So that's where we are at the minute. There is one general attacking loan player we're trying to bring in who's not really a specialist for what we want, but can cover a number of positions and will strengthen the squad. And we've also been linked, really annoyingly, with loads of players we can't get a work permit for by a director of football. So his transfer suggestions are actually pretty useless at the minute. But what is bizarre is that we're being linked with Cole Palmer, which, as I'm recording this, is a man very much being talked about who's potentially on the cusp of joining Chelsea in real life. Here, we're being linked with a 15 million deal for him. Our transfer budget at the moment is 3.8 and our wage budget is 9 grand. Cole Palmer is on loan at Burnley from Manchester City, worth 14.5 million and on 25 grand a week, is even willing to join us. Not even interested in joining the club. I have no idea where that nonsense rumour has come from. Certainly is a quiet transfer deadline day if that's the sort of stuff they're having to make up. But either way, we're going to get through the day. Here is the player that we are trying to bring in. Sam Greenwood, a lone striker from Leeds United, who of course can play up front okay, but also can cover centre midfield, number 10 and the right of midfield. Particularly looking ahead to if Alex Scott leaves, does give us another possibility in there. So maybe a slight tweak of style and system, and certainly in terms of the role he's going to play, but he would be a good replacement for the short term with only 10 grand a week in wage contribution. So let's go and take part in the day. If we can go back to the Fredericks deal, then great. But at the moment, players like Carida, who we're being linked with, we can't get a work permit for. So they're all pretty pointless, useless links. Let's see what happens on deadline day. If there's any big news, we'll be back for it. Well, 3 hours in and we've got our first bit of news, and it's probably the biggest we're going to have today. Sam Greenwood has agreed to join the club as a striker who can also play as a squad option in many other positions. Will depend on who we get bids for today. Interestingly, Hearts came in with a very generous offer for Anis Mehmeti. No wage contribution, no fee at all. They just wanted to have him for free and see how he gets on. Not going to happen. Sam Greenwood, though, that deal very much is going to happen. At least we've got a sign-in, if nothing else. With Chiquino's injury record, it's a much-needed one as well. Well, here he is, and maybe we've unearthed a gem, because according to our coaches, he's better than the scouts think he is. He's 3.5-star ability, up there with Chiquino, up there with the midfielders we've got, and certainly better than people like Cornick who are already at the club. So that could be a real good deal. We're going to ask Matty James to do the welcoming, which he's been very good at. Cornick is a bit worried about Greenwood's arrival. Don't you worry, son. If you keep playing well, you are definitely going to be in the team. Hopefully, that keeps him happy. We've got 11 hours to go. I don't expect much more on the ins now. Whether we can negotiate Fredericks again, I don't know. But the big news is who's going out. Masengo, Scott, Naismith, all wanted. Will any of the offers be too good to refuse? Let's go and see. Well, how about this as we reach the evening of deadline day? A blind panic sign-in, just a little bit of a gamble, a loan with an optional future fee if he is a superstar. Gabriel Rukavina is going to come on loan from Dinamo Zagreb. We're paying 700 quid a week in wages, 600 quid a week in wages. And if he turns out to be brilliant, we can pay 1.9 million in the future. If he's rubbish, he can sit on the bench and do nothing. So he's going to be the man to come in to finish the day. I mentioned earlier about the big deals and the big offers we might get. We've not had one. It is really, really unnerving because I feel like we might get one at the end of the evening. But at the moment, all of the wanted signs are gone. We didn't even get any loan offers for Knockhart or people like that. It doesn't look like anyone's going to be off, which for the rest of this season should be good because I agreed to these guys to have a deal to be able to go if we got a certain price. And the fact that I agreed and then we didn't get the offer should mean they stay on side with me. If we have a look at the dynamics at the minute, it's a little bit better than it was, albeit it's not good, but the club atmosphere is excellent too. So I'm hoping that some of these guys will accept that I've tried to let them go and it just hasn't happened. For now though, Gabriel Rukavina is the man. Let's accept that deal. I have no idea what he's going to be like. A lot of the goalkeepers we tried to sign in the summer, with Baxter coming in, have now moved on elsewhere. So Trav, as you can see, is one of them. Brad Collins was the other at Barnsley. But Rukavina, that's what I know about him. The initial scout report is D, but that only started today, and there's minimal knowledge. So we'll see if he's any good. Back in a moment to find out, and hopefully to finish deadline day with no offers for our players, which does seem a little bit unrealistic. Well, if you feel on the channel over the years that we've sometimes had a bit too much luck with these panic deadline day deals and the blind signings, well, I think it's run out here because Gabriel Rukavina is 2-star ability, potentially magnificent, and if he does end up getting a bit of football, might improve and become worthwhile, but I'm not imagining he's going to be very good at the minute. Does he need to be registered at 19? Apparently he does. Let's see what he's like. He is not good at all. I mean, he has got electric pace, which is something we don't really have in a team. Cornick's probably the quickest, but he's not a brilliant pro. He's a bit of a rough diamond, I think you'd say. There's a little bit to work on there. And maybe he can be a threat as a wild card off the bench. I don't know. We'll see. It's unlikely he's going to feature much, but he's got an international teammate from the Croatian youth setup in Marko Bulat, and hopefully that will help him settle in, and maybe he'll develop and reach his potential. 3 hours to go, still no offers for our players. Let's get to the end of the day and wrap up what's been an interesting January window. Well, I almost got to surprise you. 1 hour to go, and we did go in for one last right-back option. James Bree was the man. We did discuss terms with Fredericks again, but he wanted more money than almost all of our players. James Bree we went for, but so did Nottingham Forest. We offered to pay 40% of the wages, which is 12 grand a week. Would have been a good signing. I know him well from Luton, but not to be. He goes to Forest, one of our championship rivals, and unfortunately, that will be the end of our work. Well, there it is. The transfer window is shut, and most importantly, yes, we've kept those key players who were previously unhappy, but we agreed to let them go for certain prices and in certain circumstances, and we just didn't get the offers. So hopefully, they're going to stay on board with us now. We did add Abdullah in the window, who of course scored that crucial goal at the start of the episode. Harry Darling is in, as we've known for a long time, but on deadline day, that panic Croatian kid who's not going to be good enough, and Sam Greenwood, who will definitely contribute to the squad. The only senior departure is Taylor Moore. I'd expect a few others to go out on loan to non-league clubs during the rest of the year. Our wage bill is now the 14th biggest in the championship, so to be fair, we're not even overperforming at this point. And a transfer window roundup, well, none of the big deals are involving us. But let's have a look at the championship table, because we are 13th, and it looks like it's going to be a really boring year. We have 15 points from the playoffs. We are 17 clear of the relegation zone. And at the moment, our job is just about secure because we're doing enough at the minute, albeit we're not exceeding expectation. The fact we're playing the football the board wants and that we've progressed in the FA Cup is obviously helpful to that. But it is going to be a pretty dull or uninspiring end to the season on the pitch. It's about really developing talent and honing that skill for next year. So I'm not going to bother you with too much football before the end of this season. If we get through Palace in the Cup and get a big 5th round draw, I'll show you that. But I don't expect us to get through. If not, we'll probably just do 2 more episodes this year. Maybe even 1 if I can get through it quickly enough. But definitely no more than 2. Maybe we'll do Burnley as a rerun of the playoffs. Burnley and Sheffield United away looks tricky. Of course, we are going to be very reliant on our youth intake this year, and we are going to be experimenting tactically to find out the best way to play for next season. If you're looking forward to all of that and you did enjoy this episode, 3 goals scored in a game, can you believe it? As well as a pretty good end to the transfer window, and please do put a thumbs up on it. Of course, if we do make a remarkable late run for either relegation or the playoffs, I will come back and show you. And of course, if our job comes into jeopardy again, we will be back. But I think we've just about ridden out the storm. If you want to stay up to date and find out though, subscribe and turn that notification bell on. We've had a huge start to our Build a Nation season. You can find that one up in the eye above. There's also links there to the Twitch channel and the football podcast for championship predictions every single match day in the real footballing world. And anything you can't find, including social links, are all in the description below. But thank you very much for watching and your support as always. It is greatly appreciated. And I'll see you back here next time for a youth intake that I hope is good. And fingers crossed, just no more unhappiness.